Hello there again, and thank you for joining us on the JoyNews channel. Welcome to The Sages. And as always, we hear intriguing stories from people who have contributed to the development of our nation. Well, today we're spending time with one man who I would want to describe as the star of Osino. But when you do that, the Accra Academy boys will come at you. So yes, you are also in the story, you're in the picture, and you're taking some shine of that. Of course, as old students of the Accra Academy School. But we can't leave out the University of Ghana because that's also one place that shaped this individual that we're about to talk about. And for those who are historians, you may have chanced on his literary works in maybe any of the libraries in some of the academic institutions. And that's why I'm excited to be here today, to hear from him, to hear much more about Ghana's history, and more importantly also to track his journey into the world of history. I'm talking about Professor Robert Addo-Fening, who is my guest for today on The Sages. Hello, Prof. It's good to be with you. Quite relaxed at home now, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling?
Well, at 90, I can't complain.
Definitely. And of course, we're happy to be with you because we've heard so much about you. We've read about your works as well. And it will be a great time for our viewers as well to get to know much more about you. And for those who've been reading so much about you who would want to know a bit more. I was talking about being the star of Osino. I don't know if you'd want to take that accolade.
Well,
but that's where it all started from, I believe. So bring us into that start of that story. How was your upbringing like in that era until, of course, the university chapter and the University of Ghana?
Well, I was born on the 7th of March, 1935.
That must be a long time ago.
Yes. And I was raised by my grandmother because in my infancy, my father and my mother were migrant farmers in a place in the Achimabua district, what was called Nyafuman, where there were farmers. And so my grandmother raised me. Until I started school at Osino, and then when I got to what you now call primary school, standard 5 or whatever. That was 2 years before I finished. My parents returned, so I finished school at Asafu, Achim, standard 7. When I wanted to continue to secondary school, I'd done reasonably well. Yeah. So I was excited. I went to my mother, showed her my results, and she asked me to show them to my father, which I did. And my father was not very enthusiastic. So he told me that that was all he could do for me, and that if I wanted to continue my education, I should go to my maternal relatives. In fact, this was what led to the breakup of the marriage between my father and my mother. So I came to Osino, which is my hometown, and my older brother had just returned from the war. He was a soldier. He raised a little money, and with that, they sent me to Accra Academy. Luckily for me, I knew a gentleman, Mr. Frank Edu. Okay. He's the father of the Edu who was assassinated, the MP. Right. And he, together with my head teacher at the time, saw some people in Chebi. At that time, Selfred had just set up a scholarship to help needy people to go to secondary school. So that is how I managed even to get to secondary school at all. Oh. I almost made secondary school.
But this scholarship?
Yes, the Achimabua scholarship scheme, which was set up by Ofata. And it indicated that the scholarship will increase as the school fees also increase. So there was no question of getting stuck midway through these things. So I entered Accra Academy in 1950, and then finished in 53.
Right.
Because of my experience, I knew there was nobody to help me go further than that. And that was why, after secondary school, I decided to become a teacher. Right. Because in those days, those who offered to go to training college were even paid some allowances. So the question of not having money was out. So that's how I got to secondary school. Yeah. And then, of course, after secondary school, I taught primary school for 2 years. Whilst I was teaching, I sat for the A-levels privately and passed. And so in 1959, of course, I entered university. So that was...
But that must be a seven-year gap. So that period was when you were doing teaching and training as well to teach at the basic.
I had to.
Okay.
Because I was ambitious.
Right.
Particularly during my teacher training at Tech, there was one classmate of ours who obtained his exemption from London matriculation. Of course, that was the least qualification to get to university. Whilst we were there, he was doing correspondence course. So he inspired us. So when we went out to teach, and luckily for me, I got married the first year of my teaching.
Oh.
So my mind was at peace. I didn't have to go out and frolic with people and so on.
And this was at what age?
I was born 35, so that was talking about starting teaching in 56.
Right.
I started teaching, so that would be...
In your 20s, I believe.
Yes. As I told you, my mind is not... That's why I tried to put everything down.
But you were a young man then?
Yes, obviously. I was a young man. Well, when I married, actually, my wife was 18. Oh. And I was 22.
Wow.
Because I didn't want any distractions. I didn't want any problem from schoolgirls and whatever. So I married very early, So I was all focused. I knew what I wanted to do. So it was while I was teaching that I started overseas correspondence course and worked my way through A-level and got to university.
So let's talk about the university, because that's when your love for history grew a bit more and more. And what drew you to this whole world of learning about history and in fact writing about it?
Yes. When I entered the university, I went into the Department of General Studies. They called the department BA level. Those who had 3 A levels went straight to the honors course. Those who had 2 A levels had to go to the BA General course. So for the first year, I was in the BA General course. But then Addo-Fening came in towards the end of the year, and he decided that he wanted to increase the size, the intake. So he advertised that anybody who wanted to transfer from the BA General to the BA Honors could take a special examination. So there were 8 of us who opted to take that exam because we wanted. The honors course was more prestigious, and it opened more opportunities. So there were 8 of us who took this, and fortunately for me, I was the only one that was picked. So instead of spending 3 years, I spent 4 years. Right. So I started all over again with the honors course. And Addo-Fening from my first year of honors course was my teacher, and he inspired me a lot.
Right. How then did your time at the university shape your approach towards history?
Of course, at that level, you're talking about European history, Commonwealth history, and very little about African history. The turning point came with Addo-Fenin's return home. And just before Addo came back, one professor called Trevor Roper, very distinguished British professor,
right,
who had over 100 books to his credit, was asked to give a lecture in London. And this was about a year before I entered Legon. And he said, nowadays, undergraduates demand to be African history.
right.
Perhaps in the future, there might be some African history to teach. But for now, there is none. There is only the history of Europeans in Africa. The rest is darkness. And darkness is not a subject of history.
That must have been upsetting at the time.
The shock
Yeah.
through African world that we had no history, we had nothing, was our immediate inspiration. And that was, as I say, championed by Professor Addo-Fening. So he trained the first generation of historians like Professor Menume,
Right.
like Professor Daku, what was the other person? That's why I have my notes.
Yeah.
Agbadika,
Right.
all were the first generation of students. Teresa Owusu, they were the first batch that had the chance to go to.
Right.
Unfortunately for me, in my class, there were only 3 of us who came from a teaching background. All 3 of us were married, were family men.
Yeah.
Now imagine being in class with these young sixth formers.
Yeah.
And so when the announcement came that those who were interested should apply, I was naturally diffident. How am I going to compete with sixth formers? So I let it go.
Right.
So when the university, my results came, our results came, Professor Kofi Dakwa and others, I had made a second class upper.
Right.
There were 6 of us who made a second class upper, 5 Ghanaians and 1 Nigerian. So hurriedly, I approached the university and I said, it's too late. Those who had applied had gone. And that was why in the first place, I had to go into secondary school teaching, you know. And then after 2 years, Addo-Fening was passing through for paying where I was teaching. And he said, Robert, I've arranged a scholarship for you to go to Australia National University. So that's how I got to do. And I finished in '65. And then again, he called me and said, do you want to teach in the university? I'm doing recruitment.
Wow.
So I jumped at it, the opportunity.
Yeah.
So I then started work at Legon in '67.
Right.
And as I say, under Addo-Fening's leadership, the idea was that the time had come for historians to write their own history of their country, because history writing involves a lot of nuances and words and this and that foreigners cannot understand properly.
Yeah.
So it was Addo-Fening who inspired us into this area of study.
But speaking about Professor Addo-Fening himself, were you friends beforehand?
No, I didn't know him before, except that his ancestors were among the Jwamin refugees who moved from Jwamin to settle in Achimabua. You know, Japan rebelled against Kumasi, and the leaders had to flee into exile.
Right.
And they came to live at Osim. And Osim is at the center of Achimabua.
I see.
It's about 8 miles from my hometown.
Right.
So because of the connection, the proximity,
Yeah.
he took to me like a little brother,
Yeah.
right from the beginning. And also, I was very submissive to him.
Yeah.
So he was determined to help me anyway.
Yeah.
So it was through him. Otherwise, I would have ended up as a secondary school teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
But it's good that eventually you made it into the university community, and I believe you're one of the very few people, I mean, to have had a PhD at the time in the university.
yes. What happened? As I told you, the
Yeah.
inspiration started from Trevor Roper's statement
Right.
that there's only the history of Europeans in Africa. The rest is darkness.
Right.
And darkness is not a subject of history. So all of us were inspired. And so we began from our respective areas. I took Achimabua,
Right.
Kwame Dekuru and John Finn took Asante, others took the Fante,
Yeah.
and so on. So we all worked from societies that we really knew. So I wasn't related to Addo-Fening except by this connection.
Yeah.
Yes. But again, I think one of the things was that any time he came to the department, I was the only teacher that was there.
Yeah.
I was very punctual, and whenever he had any work to do, he delegated to me,
Yeah.
and I didn't complain. So he came to like me, and he was determined to help me.
And there's no doubt it
Yes, to
indeed
succeed.
paid off, and so we're grateful. God bless his soul then. But let's talk about the journey towards documenting,
Yes.
you know, our
yes.
history. You then decided.
Let me
yes,
answer what I
perhaps,
was thinking guide me.
yeah.
Why I focused my research on Achimabua.
Yes, I was just going to ask
Yes,
about that because
that was-
you spoke about, you know, that decision you all took collectively,
Yes.
where some would focus on the Ashanti,
Yes.
you were going to focus on
Yes.
Achimabua.
Yes.
When did that project start for you, and why did you even decide to focus on that?
Yes, when I came in
Yeah.
from Australia, Addo-Fening allowed me 1 year to prepare my lecture notes for the full year,
For the next
because
year.
he was going to leave that subject for me to teach.
Right.
And so I had time to do some general background reading, J.B. Dangwa's writings and other things. And I started in I entered I came back from Australia in 82, I
Right.
think, 81 or 82. So that was when I started teaching in the department. And what I was doing was, the first year I assisted Addo-Fening.
Yeah.
I had a very light load. So I took advantage of that to go into the archives during my free time to do general reading
Yeah.
about this thing. I think it would be best if you let me go
Yes,
according
yes,
to my
yes.
schedule, because
Yes.
my
then
mind, as I told you, at 90s.
It's
I
fine.
said, why I focused my research on Achimabua.
Yeah.
By 1920, Achimabua was already being touted as the most leading and progressive of all the native states.
Right.
This was a statement that was made by Sir Hugh Clifford.
Right.
It was at Chebi that Sir Clifford held the first meeting of chiefs soon after his assumption of duty as governor of the Gold Coast. It was with Ofata that he first had an opportunity of discussing the affairs of the Gold Coast. Chebi was the first state capital to be visited by Governor Sir Gordon Gorgesburg, successor of Clifford. According to him, Chebi became his favorite resort. Anytime he wanted to have a peaceful rest.
Right.
As for Governor Lambans, he considered Ofata as his administration's greatest friend and most valued advisor. W.J. Jones, District Commissioner for Achimabua from 1915 to 1920, noted that he liked to revisit Chebi because he found that arguments with Ofata invariably stimulates one's reasoning faculties. Notwithstanding the high profile of Ofata and his state, no Ghanaian scholar has shown sufficient interest in Achimabua's history and culture. So that was my motivation.
Yeah.
Nobody had touched it. Everybody was talking about Asante,
Yeah.
Fante, and so. So I thought this offered me an opportunity to project my own state.
Yeah.
So this thing. Now, if you like me to,
yes,
I
we
think it
can,
would be more
yes,
helpful
we can,
because
yes.
my mind
it will be,
told you at 90 it's not
just
easy
feel
at all.
free. Just feel free.
Now, how university teaching impacted my approach to historical research. I was enrolled at the University of Ghana in October '59, some 2 years after Ghana's attainment of independence. And I've mentioned how this thing. What were some of the challenges faced by the first generation of graduate students? First, there were no records here in this country.
Yeah.
The colonial government are taking all the records back to the UK. And therefore, anybody wanting to do research necessarily had to go to Europe. And then all that was left for us was oral tradition.
Right.
That is telling the story by word of mouth. And of course, it had its own problems. One of the problems was chronology.
Right.
You go to the field and talk to the old people, and they will tell you this happened, and then that happened, and that happened. When you ask them, when did this happen, they have no clue. They can't give you. That's what we call chronology. And then, of course, they tended to exaggerate. You see, in wars where one nation, say, conquered another nation and killed 10 people, they would say we killed 100. So oral tradition, though very good, had its difficulties, and we could not rely this thing. And that was the main reason why the first generation of students had to go overseas, because the libraries were there, documents from Ghana had been sent there, and it eliminated the problem of exaggerations that I'm talking about.
And personally, were there some of these exaggerated stories that was very common at the time when you were starting?
In fact, some of the stories were just not true. They never happened. And they tell you of people swallowing bottles and so on. And that is not history.
Right.
History is about what actually happened. If something did not actually happen, it is not history.
Right.
So there were all these difficulties, which this thing. And as I said, I earned my PhD in January 1981 under the supervision of Addo-Fening after 4 years of part-time research, because I was teaching, and days that I didn't teach, I would go to the National Archives to do my research. Now, where did I get my documentary sources from? I said, the rich and well-preserved holdings at the Chebi State Archives. Nana Ofata had a wonderful library in Chebi, where he had gathered all the correspondence between colonial rulers. So when you go today, it's a wonderful place. Right. There's nothing relating to Achimabua that you won't find. And therefore, that was one of my inducements. Chebi State Archives were supplemented by the holdings of the National Archives. So I used the archives at Chebi together with the National Archives. Now, the greater challenge came during field research. So if you're a historian, you have to go into the field to validate what you have gathered from
your sources.
this thing. That is what we call a field work. You go there, you identify knowledgeable informants, people who know the history you are talking about, who can give you information. It's not everybody.
Yeah.
You make appointments to go and speak to those people.
Right.
Then you think of consideration money.
Yeah.
You have to give them money,
Yeah.
even in those days.
Because the
for them
information
to
will come at a
open
cost,
up
obviously.
and tell you. Otherwise, they will tell you untruths. So the corruption thing
started way long ago.
Then the problems arising in the course of recording.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're recording people, you get to a place and say, no, we're not going to talk about this. They fear that without the permission of the chief, they might get into trouble.
Yes.
So we had to overcome all these difficulties before you could embark on it.
Yeah.
Then you have problems arising from the course of recording.
Yeah.
When you're recording, people will say, no, if you're going to record, I won't speak into the microphone. Yeah. Why? Because they suspected that government will get to know about their income and all these things and tax them.
Yes.
So they didn't want that. Yeah. So you have to overcome all these difficulties. There was the question also of chronology. They wouldn't be able to tell this happened in 1948, then 49 this happened, then 50 this. They get mixed up and just throw everything at you. So these are all problems that you have to sort out, you know.
But let's talk about Nana Sylvia, the first you were talking about.
Yes.
What role did his interventions play in inspiring your work?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for starters, as I told you, he instituted a state scholarship to help people. He was, of course, very much interested in education. If you don't mind, again, Nana Sylvia's contribution to the shaping of Achimabua. What he inherited, what did he inherit? He inherited a culture of reckless alienation of stolen land. It was at a time when the Gans, the Asantes, the Krobos were all moving into Achimabua, virgin forest, to cultivate cocoa. And so they were all coming in. They were living in the villages, you know, and the chiefs were encouraged to sell land indiscriminately. There was a case I saw where a chief from Akwapim who was going to Achim to look for land to buy, met an Achim man who was coming to Accra and said, I wanted to buy land. So all this piece of land is mine.
So if you like, you
can
take it.
So Ofata's problem was how to regulate land tenure and prevent reckless sale of stool land. So that was one of the things that he had to focus on. And this got him into great trouble, opposition from Alton. As of 1912, when he became Ochenhene, the forest of Achimabua, which stood at 80% in 1893, had declined almost to about 70% because people were selling Abokwa land. People who had no right to sell land. So the forest was going. So the first thing he had to do was to bring in land tenure system, which brought him into conflict then with migrants from Asante, migrants from Krobo land, all of them claiming that they had bought the land and by ipso facto they owned the land.
Was he reclaiming the land?
No, he wasn't. Okay. He wanted to regulate land tenure, one to prevent his own people from indiscriminate sale of land. That you could only sell land with the approval of the Ochihene.
Right.
And of course, his own chiefs kicked against it
Right.
because they stood to lose. And then the migrant farmers, people who had come into, also kicked against it.
Right.
So he had a very hard time dealing with this problem. So resistant to Ochihene's jurisdiction first, they were saying that we are Akwapim people, our chief is in Akwapim, you have no control over us. And he was saying, yes, you are living in my jurisdiction, the native jurisdiction ordinance. So you are subject to me. What was happening? So an Akwapim has a case. He takes it to a Akropong. He said, I won't go to an Achim court because I'm not an Achim man. So Ofata is saying, okay, if you are not Achim man, what right have you to cultivate Achim land free of charge?
Right.
So all these were problems that he had to deal with. He dealt with the Kotoku state, those who came from Oda.
Right.
They also had they had come from Asante and relocated. They came to Jadem. I don't know whether, if you're going to Kumasi, you pass Osino before you get to Enyinam. That's Jadem.
Right.
That was where the Kotoku state came after quarreling with Asante. From there, they migrated and they were given a place to stay. And they were trying to claim independence. So the Achim people fought with them, and that's why they are where they are now. So there were all these problems that Ofata had to do. The Kotoku he had to deal with. And then, of course, the chiefs who stood to gain by the land sale said, okay, according to Akan custom, I, as a chief, when I sell anything, I bring you a portion. But you have no right over my land. These small chiefs. And so Ofata had to bring in legislation to show that he was the overlord, the stool of Achimabua, was the landlord. All the chiefs were sub-landlords. So you couldn't sell land without his consent. So this added to his unpopularity, not only the migrants that were fighting, his own chiefs. And so maybe you've heard of Asamankese trying to break away from Achimabua for almost 20 years before they were reconciled. So all these were problems at Asamankese's secession attempt lasting from 1921 to 1938.
This must be a long-standing
dispute. They claimed independence. They wouldn't go to Chebi. They continued to sell it. Then you have Akwapim agency courts. Akwapim chiefs appointed agents where Akwapim happened, and they were acting as chiefs. So they wouldn't let any case involving an Akwapim go to the state. So all these were problems that Ofata did. The government also opposed Akwapim farmers in Densoja. You know, when you cross the border, that area is called Densoja. There were guns. He was opposed to installing a gun chief at a Suboi. So you see, you're dealing with people who are migrated into your state. They are living on your territory, sometimes on land that you give free. Now they are claiming autonomy within your state. What will you do? So these were the major problems that he had got. So these were the problems that Ofata faced.
I believe there should be an intersection between political history and you know, the history at the time of the people of Achimabua. What do you recall about, you know, some happening?
No, when two things intersect, it means they have a common point. They met. So where does history and politics come in? Now, the accounts have a saying, "Wunim babia ufri eba, unhu babia woko." If you don't know where you're coming from, you will not know where you are going. And exactly this is where history comes in. You have to know where you are coming from, what was there, to be able to know what you must change or what must not change. So history is very important to politics. This is one of the problems, as I saw, that I see in Ghana. We are not taking account of what happened in the past and learning any lessons.
Right.
So we keep on repeating the same tribal conflicts, the same things that have happened in the past before. We are still doing, because we have not taken our history seriously. Now, Sir Hugh Trevor Roper, this is the man who said Africa had no history.
Yes.
Said we study history in order to understand how we have come to be where we are. So that is the intersection. We study history to know how Ghana, after independence, Ghana was a beautiful place. Why are we in this mess?
Yeah.
It's only by studying the history that you will know what has gone wrong. So we study history in order to understand how we have come to be where we are. So the roots of today's problems lie in what we did or failed to do yesterday.
Which is true.
Yes, so that is the intersection.
Yeah.
So we're going back and say, where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
And then we learn from there and move forward.
And since you're talking about that, there are young people now doing what you used to do years ago. What advice do you have for young historians?
Well, young historians.
Yes.
Well, history is not a figment of the imagination.
Right.
It's not something you might. If something did not happen, it is not history.
Right.
History is about what happened in the past. So if our youth today are not interested in what happened in the past, then we're going to have the same problem over and over again.
Right.
Because it is only when we understand what we did wrong in the past that we can strive to correct them. It's that history is about what really happened in the past and their impacts, their legacies, their long-term effects, not only in the immediate effect. So I can say it is not the same day you throw a stone across the river Fra that you feel the pangs of your action.
Right.
And yet our tobo feet from so and mpafi.
Right.
So all that we are doing today are going to impact
the future
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that is the importance of history. That's the importance of history.
And I want to go back a bit to talk about the University of Ghana and your days there. I mean, what was the experience like at the time? Your days back at the University of Ghana?
Well, we had fun, but we also took our work serious. For example, I was in Legon Hall.
Right.
What they call the gentleman's hall, the first hall. Yeah. And we had very strict house masters. You see, when you go, you are divided into groups, and one of the lectures becomes your tutorial.
Right.
He takes care of your problems.
Yeah.
If you have problems, you go and see him.
Them. Yeah.
When your reports are made, they are made to him. And so it's virtually your father whilst you are in Lagos. Yeah. So one day monitor, they were our advisors. We had a lot of good time in the common room, particularly on weekends.
Yeah.
There was a high life music, Menyeje, Obroso.
That was your favorite at the time?
Yes, if you come to Lagos Hall at 1 o'clock with visitors, the students' girlfriends coming in, the common room, the bar, very exciting time. Right. Then in our time, you went to the dining room in your gown. Without your gown, you couldn't go to the dining hall.
Right.
So the senior members would troop from the common room, senior common room, and everybody wearing his gown.
Yeah.
They come in after prayers are said in Latin.
Oh, in Latin?
Prayers are said in Latin. After the prayers, then they begin to serve us. And unlike today, you could ask for more. You had the steward boys standing around you. So you tell them, can I have more soup? Can I have a little chicken?
Oh.
Yeah. All those things are available.
And it was for free?
Yes, for free. You know.
You wouldn't get that for free
We
today.
were treated like kings.
Yeah.
And then there were days that we were allowed to go to Volta Hall to visit, and they also could visit.
Oh.
We had our dances, we had everything. So we were very happy. We combined study and work, serious study and work.
Yeah.
Because in the Department of History, for example, you had to write 5 essays every semester.
Okay. 5?
5.
5 essays.
Sorry, the year.
Yeah, right.
So you wrote 2 in your first semester, the second you wrote 2, and then 1. So you didn't have time to do what the young people are doing today.
Yeah, I see.
Sometimes their minds are off, there are strikes, but in our time you didn't have time for that. From the dining hall, you went to your room, did your study, and that was it. At the time, my time at Lagos. The first was my trip by a BOAC flight via London to Moscow.
Right.
That was the very first time I was sitting in a plane. And it happened this, I asked for a vacation job. My friend was a commercial workers union of TUC secretary.
Right.
He couldn't give me the job, but then he said, okay, I've been asked to send a delegation to Moscow. And I want you to go there because they would like to ask questions about this. So that's how I go to the delegation. And we were in Moscow on 6th of August when the Soviet Union launched Major Titov into space.
That must be a historic moment.
It was a wonderful experience. I was in the hotel.
Wow.
Hotel Vukraina. That's where we stayed.
Wow.
I had a rare opportunity of viewing Venus through a telescope.
Wow. So all these planets we talk about, you had an experience of seeing them.
Our delegation flew out of Moscow on 7th August, but not before being taken on a tour of the Kremlin. So we went to the Kremlin. We were shown around. Then hearing the announcement of Major Titov's successful landing in space. The announcement was made whilst we were in the Kremlin.
People were jubilating, I believe, at the time.
And it was a never to be forgotten
experience.
We flew out of London at 6:35 on Saturday and came back to Ghana. Then the trauma of J.B. Dankwa's detention. That's another thing. At the material moment when J.B. was arrested, my wife was living with that family at the Kokode-Nwamase. You know, you've heard of his house at Kokode-Nwamase. My wife was learning dressmaking from Mrs. Dankwa. And in fact, she served J.B. his last life. The police had surrounded the house. My wife was weeping. My wife was weeping. Everybody was weeping. And they kept on telling my wife, said, "Comfort, don't worry, I'll come back." So they waited until he had lunch before they took him away. So that's also an unforgettable.
And at this time you were at
I
the
was
university?
a student.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I was so scared because that was in Nkrumah's time.
Right.
And if somebody were to tell them that my wife was living in JB's now, I didn't know what would happen to me. So my reaction, I spoke to Mrs. Dankwa and he agreed. So I moved my wife from that and we went to Mansell in Kumasi to finish training. Yes. Then the other one was the aborted visit to Ghana in '61 by Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth. I was one of 2 students selected to open the door as she came out of the car stop, the Great Hall. Unfortunately, because of the instability in Ghana at the time, the visit was postponed. And I missed out on this opportunity.
Yeah.
Listen.
Right.
And then the fourth was the furore over 1961. Professor Mr. A.C. Kuma, a law lecturer, who was a CPP, had instructions from Nkrumah. The university had instructions that he should be promoted to professorships.
Promoted?
Promoted from lecturer to
overnight
professor.
Promotion.
The university resisted
Right.
that they won't under any condition. And that was what led the vice chancellor at the time to resign and go away. So these are some of the things that I remember, always.
Indeed. Indeed. With the instability that you were talking about at the time, how much of a trouble was it for you as a student or working in the university then, when there was so much instability,
Look, we were compulsorily, I don't know whether you have the Mr. E.B. Lamy, was a guy, he was a young lecturer there, and they were CPP. So there were days where all students had to assemble in the Great Hall to learn Nkrumahism. It was compulsory. Right. You had to go there. And on one occasion, I remember we were bused to Flagstaff House.
Just to learn about it?
Students were bused to be instructed in Nkrumahism and all those things. All these things happened.
And a very insightful moment we're having at Addo-Fening, who's been giving us, a lecture on the history of Ghana, whilst educating us on the exciting times at the University of Ghana and his life in general. But we're taking a break. When we get back, we'll touch on some misconceptions around Ghana's history. You want to hear about that? Please stay with us. You're watching The Sages on the JoyNews channel. And you're welcome back. My guest is Professor Addo-Fening. And Prof, what a great time you were having back at the University of Ghana. But while all of that was happening, there was, as you were pointing out, political instability. The general atmosphere, of course, had a lot of issues. But that brings us into the part of the conversation which I want us to focus on, our national history and some misconceptions around it. You are a historian. What do you feel are some of these general misconceptions that you've equally heard as well?
The popular one was the supposed agreement on the duration of the bond of 1844.
Yeah.
The days of Nkrumah days when we were fighting with, people were saying that the bond of 1844 stated that the British will rule for 100 years. Yes. We were in 1940s, so it's long past to give us independence. Right. There's nowhere in the bond of 1844 where it was said that the British were going to rule us for 100.
Really?
Yes.
And how did that even come about?
Well, it's
was it because of the chiefs?
Sometimes a lot of things you hear that it was about you were to rule us for 100 years. 100 years are up, so go. There was nothing like that. But of course, that was where the momentum took place to get us independent. Then the controversy over the exclusive use of the title Ochinhene.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are 3 Achim states. Achimabua, which is the Chebi. Then you have Achim Kotoku. And then we had Achim Bosome. Now, as I hinted, the Kotoku people were originally Asantes. And they were on the other side of the Pra River. And from time to time, they would rebel against Asante. And when they rebel, they would cross the Pra into the other side the Achim side. So it was Osei Tutu who said to the people, you people, who are you? Today you are Asantes, tomorrow you are Achim. That was how that area, the Konongo, this area became known as Asante Achim.
Right. Because of the
Asante Achim. Asantes were there, but it was actually Achim territory. So that is also one of the things. Then the use of the term Akim, in some texts is Akim.
Yes. You see the A-K-I-M.
Yes, in some places Achim.
Yes.
In 17th century call it. Who were they? So this is what prompted me. And I have an article that I did on this issue, it's published, to show that until this place, the Kotoku came, and until the other Asante people came to Koforidua and all that, that piece of land was called Achim. But because they had come to live in that area, the Achim area, they prefixed the name Achim, like I said, Achim Kotoku, Achim Bosome. That's how they call it. But they are actually Asantes who migrated into. I was a member of the Abuakwa Scholars Union. Okay. And one Ochin, the president of Ochin, was elevated to go to the National House of Chiefs. A protest was launched by the two other Achims, Achim Kotoku, Achim Bosome. They objected to the use of the term Ochin, because they claimed that all three of them were from Ochin and they don't have one chief. So the Ochin summoned me. I went there and said, this is what I said, don't worry. So I wrote a paper for him to show how they live. So it's just a prefix. And with the point that I made, they allowed Ochin here. So he's the original Achim chief. The others are migrant chiefs.
Based on history.
Who lived, came to live, got a territory, recognized by this as independent, and they adopted the type. So they say Achim Kotoku, Achim Bosome, and then Achimabua. But the Buakwa is the original owners of the land and the Ochin.
Was that a controversial issue at the time?
Very controversial. Because I advised the Ochin not to accept membership of the council if they were not going to give him that honor. Because it's the Ochin. They came to beg for land from the Ochin. And so you cannot say you're Ochin. And so with the argument, they accepted it. And so he's the only Ochin now.
Has that issue died down?
The
whole use of
the occasionally, yes, that thing is it's still there. It's still there. Even the Koforidua settlement. Occasionally, a trouble, a spark between Achim and New Dwabin. See, they came from Dwabin. Got land that the Ochin gave them. So they named it New Dwabin. They remain their identity. In fact, they are a state now. But they are within the boundaries of the original Achim land.
Oh, but they were given land.
Yes, but they are autonomous. They are recognized as separate. The lands now are gazetted by government. But they were originally a Buakwa land. And it was one of the colonial administration that actually went to beg for the Koforidua land for the New Dwabins to settle. I have a full article on that also.
Yes. And that brings up the issue about how we can preserve, our historical narratives. How can we do that as a country?
Now, the works, historical works, are published works. When we talk of published works, we mean books, we mean journal articles, we mean newspapers. These are published works. Then we have unpublished works. These are research notes. Now if you go to my study, there are whole pile, which I'm going to donate to the Chebi archives. I'm going to. Those that I didn't write up, the researches I did, they are all in my listing. And then you have recordings of interviews like we are doing.
Doing that, yeah.
These are the main listen from which we write history. Now, among the better ways of preserving historical materials, one, air conditioning. Before digitalization, the libraries in Legon and they all had air conditioners blaring all night and this and this. I took the students to some of the papers in the archives.
Right.
If you hold them, they break.
Because they are frail now,
yeah. For days they go without power and they've turned brown. So they have a separate department where they repair paper, they glue them onto this thing. So that is that side of it. You want to preserve by air conditioning. Then currently there's digitalization,
yes,
which is much better, than air conditioning because of the weakness of air conditioning. And the third word is that currently there are special appeals being made for donation of private papers, books, and diaries.
Which you plan to do?
Yes, I'll take you later to see my.
Yeah.
I had papers, my lecture notes, my articles that are not packed, filled the top of my this. I've donated all that to Legon.
Right.
So they've moved that to the Edubuahi Memorial Library.
Right.
That's where. Now, my textbooks are here. I've divided them into two. The general textbooks, I'm going to donate them also to the history department. Right. But those that relate to Achimabua, I'm taking them to the Chebi archives.
Yeah, so that they are kept there. Yeah. And that will be a right spot to keep it because you also use the facilities at the time.
Because none of my children did history. And they don't even want to hear. They said that's why I'm poor.
But at least now you are informing the general public.
That's why I'm poor.
Our viewers will keep watching and watching this over and over again. But what legacy do you hope to leave behind, with your works, the kind of works you've done? What legacy are you hoping to leave with your work?
Well, I try to put them saying my legacy. I said that he said that we study history in order to understand how we have come to be where we are, as Tavaropa. It is my hope that through my publications, the people of Achimabua will continue to maintain awareness of their unique cultural and historical identity. Right. They will never forget they are a distinct group. Though they are part of Ghana, they will not lose their identity. And this identity is defined by our past. Right. I am Achim because I was born in Achim, and because by culture, I am Achim. So we need to preserve identity. This is something that the Afro-Americans lament. Whenever I go to America, they said, they don't know where they come from. Right. They don't know whether they have fish or fowl. So it's important. Identity
is key.
Just as we want to preserve a Ghanaian identity, we also should preserve the ethnic identities of the people. So that is one. Then, two, at the same time, we should not forget that our state has been a true melting pot. Ghana has been a melting pot. As I'm saying, if you go to Achimabua, many Krobos have lived there for generations, married. Some of them even are holding chiefly office. So there's the gradual integration
of every tribe. And
I wonder, but for that, what would have politics in this camp? If you attack Achim and you are Krobo, you are attacking your own people. They are there.
Right.
If you are Santi and you attack
your own people
this thing, Kwao, your people are there.
Right.
So gradually we are forging unity. It takes a long time, but we should make a conscious effort, which I'm afraid the politicians are not doing.
Right. You feel they should tone down?
They pay lip service. Oh, we want Ghana to this. But they are not acting what they are saying. Look at the last general election. Needless lives lost. And why should people die? Because we are going to choose leaders. So, so that at the same time, we should not forget that our state has been a true melting pot, an exemplar of a multicultural state. So Ghana is a multicultural, there are people, different cultures, and we should learn to live together. In peace. And then our history should encourage us to to persist in our strive for unity in diversity. Unity in diversity. We can be different, we go to our different homes, celebrate, but when we come, we are Ghanaians.
And that's what should matter.
I think unity in diversity.
Prof, there are some people who associate you with sports. I don't know if it's something that you love doing. You're actively into sports.
My children, sometimes when I'm watching television, there's football. They said, I'm throwing my leg and this thing.
Because you feel that you are back in the days.
They have a heart attack, so they come and turn the thing off.
You love football?
Yeah, I love football. My wife complains. Sometimes she finishes cooking and I'm watching Asante Kotoko and this and I have no time for food. Yes, football has been my passion from early childhood. Those days we formed balls from rubber. My area was mining, so after the miners have, so we go and take this and we mold them into, and we kick them. And I had the habit that on weekends, I pretend to be ill because I didn't want to go to farm. And my grandmother my sister would insist that she goes and no, leave him alone. So as soon as they go, I'm on the field playing
when they are returning.
So as for soccer, half the time, so I asked my wife to come and watch the TV here if he wants to, because the one in the bedroom is for me, so soccer. So I really love football. Then besides football, I played table tennis. When I was returning from Australia, I won the cup on competition. We played table tennis competition
and you won the
Achille Lauro. The ship was called Achille Lauro. And I won. I had the trophy, but it's disappeared now. I don't know. So apart from football, my next thing is table tennis. Yes. And then volleyball.
As well.
I used to play volleyball when I was tech at Tech.
But Prof, you wouldn't have reached this feat if not for the support and generosity, as you're saying, of some people who supported you. Are there some more people who influenced your life, people that you would want to mention and acknowledge?
I will be forever grateful to them. I've mentioned that, but for Mr. Frank Kedu, who got me Ochimabua scholarship, I would never have gone to secondary school. And then in my youth, my infant years, my grandma, my parents, as I say, were migrant farmers, and she raised me. That is why this book is dedicated to her. Abrowanana. That's my autobiography.
A trajectory of life.
Yes, I dedicated it to my grandmother. Yes. She did everything. She was my father, she was my mother, everything. And she was so kind to me. She died at the age of 107.
107?
107, yes. Then in my pre-tertiary teachers, before I went to secondary school, the late Mr. Reverend Abusumante from Ebru.
Okay.
He was my headmaster. It was through him that I got a scholarship to go to Accra Academy. So I'll be forever indebted to him.
Right.
Then my secondary school years, Mr. A.N.B. Andrews. The first,
a white man or?
No, it was a Ghana.
I see.
The first headmaster of, there was a secondary school, that's, is it, I've forgotten it. But when I went to secondary school, there were two of us, an ever boy called Azashi and myself. So when Accra Academy relocated boarding house to Mamprobi, we were at Mamprobi and we were attending school at Jamestown.
Right.
We had to walk, so they said we were too little to walk. So they gave us money to go by bus, and A&B Andrews was the most disciplined teacher I have ever met in my life. Yeah. I remember when we went to Mamprobi, we were in rented premises. He was so strict, and there was one Asante boy called Chem. He was my dormitory prefect, and he was so troublesome, and B would not let him. One night he went on inspection, and then as he was passing, Chem and his friends were discussing him. So he just eavesdropped. What
conversation was going on?
And then at the end of the conversation, he shouted and said, "Chem, you are a coward." And Chem retorted, "Say, I'm not a coward because my father is not a coward." So he is one person I remember. He took care of me when I was ill, and did everything as a housemaster.
For you.
And last but not the least, the almighty Professor Robert Addo-Fening. He made me who I am today. And I'll be forever, I'm part of his family now.
You love him so much.
But
you love him so much.
So much.
Yeah.
I mean, he did what he did out of his free will. Because he was determined to mentor those of us who wanted to get into the academic field. So he overworked us. And it was good for us. At the time we complained. But I always do for. Today I'm still regarded as a member of the family. His family back home.
I see.
In fact, my last child is now has finished his master's in America.
Right.
And because of my connection with Yusuf, I had an affair with her. And I had my larger. He's now doing his PhD.
Wow.
So I have 5 with my wife and 1 extra child.
That's
so Addo-Fening is my everything.
Indeed. A very lovely conversation we've had with you, Professor. But as we wrap up, I mean, you have a message for the nation, because you are not happy about divisive forces, people tearing us apart, and that we need national unity. Is there any special message you want to leave us with?
I don't know how this, except that everywhere people have used history. Look at America.
Right.
There are Russians there, there are Chinese there, and yet, look at America. Why can't we do the same? We have allowed our tribal affiliations to dominate us. Look at the pattern of elections. And this, let me give you one example. In when was this? I think one of the elections under Rawlings, I remember the date. 2 weeks before the elections, Jones of Ofata used to be the candidate, and the Krobo Fantiakwa. At that time it was one unit, Achim people. Now they've separated. The Krobos have a separate council. So 2 weeks to time, Jones fell ill.
Was that the 79 election?
Pardon?
Was that the 79 election? Or
no.
79, 81 maybe?
At that time I was still, I think it was the early, you could be right. You could be right. So a delegation came from Begro saying that Jones had decided not to stand on grounds of, they had 2 weeks to file a nomination. So they went to see Addo-Fening, that he's the only person who could talk me into filling the vacancy, because in 2 weeks' time, I ran against Ofosu Ampofo. I contested Ofosu Ampofo in that election. So they first went to the party headquarters. And the party secretary then told them that, you know, the only person who can convince him is Addo-Fening. Right. So Addo called me. I went to senior home with Professor, this thing, the fancy one. I remember his name, over this thing. And Addo was trying to talk me into accepting to stand for Fantiakwa. Now, after so many things, I said, why can I can't refuse Addo-Fening. Look at all that he has done for me. So grudgingly, I accepted to run for NPP at this thing. And I had barely 2-3 weeks to campaign.
Which was a very short period.
Yes. So wherever I go, so for some of it was the DC, and I was contesting. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So he had vehicles. I used my second-hand car.
Okay.
I met one of my former students, who was a businessman. So he privately gave me money, about, that time, about 10,000 cedis.
Right.
So you take it to run. I had to finance my campaign from my lecturer's salary. So I'll leave Legon after, like a Friday evening, afternoon, go and campaign at Bagro. As soon as I go to the Kobo villages and I'm coming back, for some of people are going back.
Because they had more resources.
To undo all that I had done. In short, during the election night, they brought in a 17-year-old to vote, the NDC. So my agents came and told me about it. I went to see the police. They admitted that they had arrested the boy. And when I went to see the boss, he said he had released him. I said, why?
Yeah.
He said, I am the officer. I said, that's so. Then the party that is sponsoring me, let it not come to. You'll be the first casualty.
Yeah.
So I experienced so many difficulties. So before the announcement came, some people knew his votes. I didn't even have
because he had more resources at the time.
So that night, I called the elders of the background and said, look, I'm finished. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm going back to my town. Find somebody else. So that's how I left politics. So for me, politics is not something that I want to hear. I don't care whether it's NDC, whether it's PC. Right. All I care is that I can get bread, my children can go to school. Yeah. Those are the things I look. So I don't like politics because of my personal experience. And the thievery, daylight robbery, I saw with my own eyes. So politics is not my cup of tea.
Well, Prof, we're grateful indeed for spending time with you.
I'm sorry about the confusion.
No, but it's fine.
I forget, if you ask my wife, sometimes I go to my bedroom and then I come back, I'm looking for something. I said, I left it here, I'm sure I left it. I go back to bed. I can't.
And in fact, that's why I'm grateful that you've documented at least a portion of them in this book.
Pick it one,
and also the others in the other books.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Grateful. And so it's been an insightful time with Professor Robert Addo-Fening. Of course, you can be on the lookout for this book as well, and some other works he has. There's also an interesting one on the Ebuakwa state. You want to read about that as well. But for now, that's all we have for you on The Sages. I am Blessed Sogan, and we'll see you again with another exciting edition. Bye-bye.